What is up, everybody? Welcome to another day of NBA basketball, aka when baseball sucks. At least we have the NBA because
yes,
it's a savior for us. Sheets tied during the showdown last night. Nice job, man. It's hard. It sucks that it's that many people, but it's a great job. Like, it's hard to win these things.
Wait. Tied with how many you said?
I had a bunch of people. I didn't know how many.
Oh, I thought you said 70. 234.
Oh. It's better than my showdown tie of 19,380 or something.
Tied with 234, but you know what? I would say got lucky. It was an awesome sweat. I got like I was battling. I had Torrey Craig against basically Dario Saric, and everybody else was like basically the same. And I got something. Dario Saric just missed like an assist or something, and then everybody came out of the game, and I'm like, yes, got him. And then I was even sweating. I'm like, okay, does anybody have who is this guy that's like that got into the game? Like, and I saw Kaminsky do a couple of things. I'm like, okay, does he have enough fantasy points where I got to worry about him? But nope. We held on for the. Hey, you know what? I only played 13 lineups, cashed at 1,300 off of and whatever that was, $15-20 per lineup. Let's do it.
Love it. Boy, Will Gordon making me look like a genius all of a sudden, by the way, in golf.
Indeed.
All right, let's jump over to. So I'll jump into it. First thing, let's go game by game here, and I am gonna go out on a limb and say that not on a limb. I Milwaukee is going to win this game. I think that the adjustments are pretty clear what they need to do. I'm not saying they're going to win the series. I still think that they could make this a series.
What are they favored by?
What's that?
What are they favored by?
They're not favored, I'm sure.
Yeah, they're favored.
No way they're favored.
Okay.
I don't know, unless I'm missing something. Let me double check. If they're favored, there would be you would just see people piling money on Brooklyn more than you can imagine. I don't even know how they could end up favored. I would have guessed they'd be like plus.
Yeah, they're three and a half point favorite.
Milwaukee is?
Dude, this is the way it works, man.
No, it's not the way it works all the time. It's up to 4. That's like kind of crazy to me.
This is let me tell you something, man. This is NBA playoff basketball. When one team is 2-0, going back, and the other team is home, they get freaking juiced up. That's just the way it is.
It's over the top. It's too ridiculous.
Just saying.
Yeah, I don't entirely.
Without looking, I could have told you this. That's right.
You nailed it on this one. I mean, I cannot. I would love to see how much money's coming in on Brooklyn. Probably will check that out, what the sharp money's doing later. But
the Open, by the way, it opened at 3.5, and now it is 3.5. Actually, there's 1-4 on DraftKings.
Oh man.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
so now I'll ask you again. You like Milwaukee minus 3.5?
Yeah, but I just think that's a really. I mean, it looked like they couldn't even play with this team the last couple of games, so it doesn't make a lot of sense to me entirely. But whatever. Okay, let's get to the DFS part of it. I like Milwaukee to win these next 2 games. I think you just keep betting them. I really think that they're going to play better and they're going to make some adjustments. And I don't think every shot can fall for Brooklyn.
Well, they can't play worse.
They really can't. So we have some interesting decisions here in this first game because KD is obviously a great play as well as Giannis. I prefer Giannis. I think that KD would be the next guy you're spending for easily, but I'm probably going to skip KD. I'll probably just be playing from the Nets, Blake Griffin, a little bit of Bruce Brown, Mike James, and Nicholas Claxton would be my weird play. I think there's enough, even if he gets you 15 or 20, if you're playing him in addition to Mike James or something like that, you can spend up in multiple positions. So I think Claxton's interesting, and he's going to be the one who's unowned. So Mike James is obvious. Blake Griffin's obvious. Bruce Brown is obvious. I like all of those guys. How about you on the Brooklyn side?
Well, a lot of this whole slate depends on Mike Conley, right? In the other game, but we'll get back to that.
Sure.
Yeah, Mike James, I think, is still the best play. He's getting enough minutes. He doesn't shoot his way out of minutes. You know what I mean? Because he doesn't shoot all that often, except whatever.
I beg to differ on that one. When I watched this guy play, he took 23 shots the last 2 games.
Well, the game was over. I mean,
No, but the game before he played 30 minutes.
oh really? Was it a close game? I don't know.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was down to whatever in the fourth quarter. Like it was within 10 in the fourth quarter.
I just figured that with Durant and Kyrie, he's just doesn't really have carte blanche to shoot his way out of games if he's not shooting well.
Steve Nash loves him. He's a journeyman who absolutely plays like he believes he's the best player on the court offensively, and he fits perfectly in with these guys. He's like doing. It's not he doesn't hold the ball, but it's like the Harden impersonation. He actually reminds me a little bit of like a really poor man's Kyrie, really poor. But maybe that is an interesting fade, just in the sense that like even though the game got close in the fourth quarter in the first game, it really was Brooklyn in control most of the way, and a lot of it had to do with guys like Mike James and Bruce Brown, both games. So I expect him to play well. He's an obvious value, but at 70% ownership, probably maybe we can find a fade there. And maybe, thinking that Brooklyn will leave their starters out if the game is tight a little longer. Maybe Mike James misses his first few shots and doesn't. I don't know. I'm just trying to find a way to fade a guy who's going to be 70% owned. But the Mike James, and if you do play Mike James, try to include Clarkson in those lineups or Clarkson as a possibility for one of the value plays in those lineups. There's a much better value play in the next game that I'll get to. But yeah, I really think that there's some upside there. And the other weird one you can get weird with is Landry Shamit. You can play those guys even together if the game is a blowout in either direction, or if the second unit goes nuts again. Mike James and Shamit together, I think, is kind of interesting. So that's sort of what I'm considering doing.
I think that if it's a blowout either direction, I still think Bobby Portis remains kind of a good play. Mm-hmm. So and he's 3,900, so I'm gonna include him in my list as well. But I would say, I mean, I would love to be able to play both Durant and Giannis. That would be so nice if I could do it. The play I didn't consider that you turned me on to maybe is this Claxton thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's 3K.
So is Shamit, by the way, and Shamit's getting run as well. So I actually think both of them are pretty interesting, and that's your low ownership guys. We can play. Yeah. I think you can play comfortably three. Well, okay, not comfortably. The third one might be one of these guys might be uncomfortable. But there's two really obvious value plays that I'm going to be having in my lineups. Mike James was the first one, but I am starting to consider maybe we can find a fade there, and just hope it goes a different way. But maybe if you don't play Mike James, that's where you play a Shamit or something like that instead. And Shamit gets you 20, and even if James gets you 22 or 25 or something at 3,800, you're saving the extra 800, which is actually going to make a difference on this slate. So I think that's kind of interesting. I like your Bobby Portis idea. I think that's going to be a little bit owned, which is fine, as probably it should be. But I'm really stuck on the Bucks outside of Giannis. I don't see the need to play these guys, and you'll see why in a minute. I'll explain it in the next game. I really, really like Giannis, and I'm basically going to take a Giannis Milwaukee controls this game kind of a stance with my lineups. Not that I think it's so likely to happen, but it is definitely on the table. The other guy, the other guy who could easily outdo Mike James if he gets hot is Bryn Forbes, and there's your zero own guy over here. You know what I mean? Or at least currently projected at low ownership. I think I would take Bryn Forbes over Bobby Portis. What's going to happen is Brooklyn's going to go small again, and they're going to at some point have to give up on Brook Lopez a little bit in this series. They cannot have him out there. He's not bringing any value. The only value he would bring would be extra rebounding, which is not his strong suit. He's not in there rebounding anyway. So I'm not playing Brook Lopez today. I don't think that means they're going to go to Portis, though. I think they're going to play PJ Tucker with Giannis at the 5. That's the way I expect them to try to roll. They're not going to start that way, but that's what maybe they will, by the way. If they do, then everybody's going to be onto it. But I would imagine the majority of the important minutes in this game will be Giannis, Middleton, Holiday, PJ Tucker, and fill in the blank with guys like Pat Connaughton, Bryn Forbes. But I don't think you'll see as much Lopez. I just don't see the value that he brings in this kind of a series. That's my take. He's killed them so far. They can't, with the way that they move the ball in Brooklyn, I almost said New Jersey. It's tough. It's rough business, as you would say.
Yep.
But hey, at least I'll be heading out that way. Maybe I'll get a chance to go to a finals game if Brooklyn does win.
So I'm curious where you're coming out in this. I'm keeping in suspense, I guess, for this Utah thing. Are we presuming, for the purposes of analysis, that Conley's out?
I'm assuming it as of right now. I understand that he might. Well, first of all, one thing is I don't think it matters, obviously, to Clarkson, to Mitchell. But does it matter entirely to Mitchell? Do we really think that after the way he played in game 1 that they're going to just like turn the ball over to Conley? I don't see that.
No, for me it matters with respect to Ingles.
Oh, of course it matters. It matters with respect to Ingles. But what I would say is that just makes Ingles become a terrific tournament play. He's a great defender who can guard wings. He's annoying to people. They already have been getting into little scuffles. They're going to want him out there. Guys like him, he and Royce O'Neal really make it difficult for these Clippers, which is crazy to say, but they really did an incredible job on George and Kawhi in the first game. So I think that Ingles is probably going to be out there quite a bit. I don't know how I'm getting a knock at the door. I'm going to pause this for 1 second. Sorry about that. Back to it. I think that I sort of said what I'm doing. It's Milwaukee, the cheap Brooklyn nonsense, not even nonsense, just the cheap Brooklyn guys. And I really want to stack the hell and hope this game stays close. I have a little bit of a weird feeling you're going to see a blowout or two. The Clippers are the kind of team that gets blown out a lot. But I think I'm just going to bet that they're going to put their best foot forward, try to get Paul George and Kawhi in my lineups. That's my plan right now. And I think that Kawhi is going to be very low owned. And I think people might be even a little bit more timid than the projections would say to go back to Paul George. Reggie Jackson, you can look at the game log and be scared. He played 17 minutes. He played 17 minutes because he fouled out in 17 minutes. So Reggie Jackson is another one. I don't mind playing all three of those guys together. This game will be played with some pace. The Clippers are going to try and go small. It's not going to work. Then you're going to be forced to Zubac back in the game. The problem is that it's not like it worked great for them, even though he played well with Zubac. But what's weird is you're seeing projections for Zubac at like 12 minutes. I don't know where these projections are coming from because Zubac played 20 minutes in the last game. He actually played really well, even though the team didn't necessarily play well with him in the game, if that makes any sense. And then your super long shot play that I think is the talk about let's get weird. What if there is the blowout and you don't play those guys? Shouldn't we be considering Demarcus Cousins here?
Well, first of all,
am I lost my mind here?
While you're bringing it up, who played nicely when he was in the game was Derek Favors, actually. I figured I would just throw that if you want another 10% or less guy.
Yeah, but they need to stay big, Utah. They can, you know what I mean? I don't see that. I get it. Yeah. I'm trying to go with the logical part. They need somebody to at least put a body on Gobert. They tried it with Morris. It wasn't, it didn't really work for them in the first game. So I thought that maybe you'd see, but again, they did go to Zubac for 20 minutes. I don't see them just eliminating his minutes. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. He played really well. So I'm going to be all over Zubac again. I locked him in the other night. It's partly what got me where I needed to be. But yeah, Zubac is my favorite and my favorite value here. I love the Cousins long shot play. But I think I prefer Zubac even over the other guys, unless we hear for sure that they're going to like limit his minutes to get more room for, I don't know, different lineups or something. But then you've got like Batum. Don't be scared off by the fact that he had a terrible game. He's going to play minutes. I don't know why they took him, why he was off the court so much in that game, but they tried to do some different things. I also think Rondo's in play, completely in play, by the way. He did play 28 minutes in the last game, and I would not be surprised at all if we saw Rondo start this be the series where he starts to, like, I don't want to say take over, but sort of be on the main core group. So I think I don't know how it's going to shake out, but I know these guys are going to get minutes. I don't think they're going to spread out. I don't think you're going to see Luke Kennard out there as much unless they're down big. He did play 29 minutes in the last game. Did not work for them at all defensively. So I think his minutes are going to fade, and you're going to see more Rondo, more Batum, more or the same amount of Zubac. And this is assuming it stays close. And then Reggie Jackson will get his minutes. Reggie Jackson not getting his minutes is the easy to say, oh, well, Rondo just played because Reggie Jackson was out. Well, and it's funny because I'm making sort of the same point on both sides. You can play Reggie Jackson comfortably and assume that he can play 32 minutes, but you can also play Rondo who's projected to play probably around 20 minutes that and we just saw he could play almost 30, and they were better with Rondo on the court than they were with they were better at the beginning with Reggie Jackson. Then for a while, Rondo took over. Anyway, I'm sort of thinking about a lot of things out loud because there's a lot of potential for a game that we should know the tight rotations, and it's really hard to know how they're going to adjust. I'm going with what I think they'll do. And I think they'll try to be stubborn and play small at first. I think you're going to see Zubac be one of the first guys off the bench, along with Rondo. And I think they have every opportunity to play themselves into staying in the rest of the game.
If you play Zubac, Bobby, you don't need to do anything else.
You said that, we said that the other night, and he was like 18% owned, and he put up 30 fantasy points.
Right?
So so you think no one's going to play him now?
Nope.
You want to make a bet?
I'll go under. I will go under. Well, you was 18% last time, right? I'll go under 18% again.
He'll be under 18, but under.
Wait, excuse me. Was he not 18% the other day?
Yeah, but you said that I wouldn't need to do anything else. If I don't need to do I would need to do something else. The 18% guy is not going to do it for me. But
well, I didn't know he was going to be 18%.
Right. No, I'm saying, in this particular situation, though, I don't think he's going to be. I mean, the projections don't love him at all. But I'm not buying into these projections. There's a lot of things the Clippers could adjust, and yet they still lost the game and had a chance to tie it at the end. So I don't know exactly what they're going to do. I just imagine that Zubac is going to get more run in this series in general, and I'm going to keep rolling with it.
You got I don't know what that is. You got Clarkson at 3K even, but you have Lopez at 4,600. Yeah, I don't know. I'm with. Hey, if you like it, I mean,
I'm doing it.
It's going to be you. I'm telling you.
The only way I'm not doing it is if anything I hear in between now and lock. Let's leave.
You're not going to hear anything. You know what I mean? Because, like you said, I mean, you're making almost like a game call. Like you say, listen, they're going to start out small, and they know it's not going to work, and he's going to come in, and that's not in the projections. You know what I mean? Right. Like that's unless like the whole universe comes up with that exact narrative.
Right.
And boost their ownership. I mean, that's not going to happen.
Right.
But I think it's funny. I didn't expect to spend this much time on that part of it. I think that what to do about Utah. If Conley is in, you told me you think you might like Ingles as a tournament play. Conley, if he's out, then Ingles becomes like a cash lock. I don't want to say lock. You know what I mean? Like a cash.
No, for cash he would be a lock. Yeah.
Right. But what about the other guys? You know what I mean? Like, if Conley plays, you'd have to believe that everybody else, is. I mean, it's only a 2-game slate, so whatever. But
right.
They're pretty fairly priced,
Right, and I think Mitchell's a great play either way. I just want to say that I think he's taking that next step, and I want to get this game stacked because I think people are going to do that with the other game. And I just am totally cool. Like the Clippers are going to rely on Paul George and Kawhi in this particular game. As we saw when they got down against Dallas, even when they were losing the games, it was just all Kawhi and Paul George. It wasn't like that the other night. There was too much, honestly, it sounds crazy, but there's too much of Marcus Morris, too much sharing the ball. I think you're going to see them rely heavily on those two. And I think you're going to see Donovan Mitchell on the other side try to take over and prove that he's one of the best 10 players in the NBA. I don't think he is, but he is literally in that just next tier. And I only say that because then, you're leaving guys like, there's so many good players. The top 10 is all really close these days in the NBA. Anyway, I am going to fade Clarkson either way. The only way I end up playing Clarkson is, if Conley's out and if I play some lineups with a Utah blowout angle, I would play Clarkson in those lineups.
I have an announcement to make.
Go for it.
I have an announcement to make. We got Miguel Cabrera at 50 years old at 12% owned with 7 fantasy points, putting me in the top 5. Let's go.
Hilarious. Go, man. I want you to take it down.
Let's go.
It's great to see it. At the same time, I know that it means I'm in trouble. So it's not as good.
Probably. Yeah. We really need Castillo just not get blown up. So I got Ian Anderson only 16%, and this is the one where I left 700 on the table. Oof. And I'm locked in, so I can't make any changes. Oof. So let's Let's see. Let's see
700 on the table with Miggy Cabrera. Look at you go. I love it.
One thing I will tell you, you notice something? You notice that no one else, no one else has my score, which means it's unique. So that's good.
Oh yeah. Oh no, you're gonna be unique. That's one great thing about the higher buy-in stuff. People don't realize you can get unique so easily. You don't even need to do crazy things, but that's a cool move just to pull anyway.
We got the home run out of Haniger, and we got the Miggy at 12%, leaving 700 on the table. That's the Galaxy brain play of the day. That's it.
Beautiful, love it. That is a Galaxy.
I couldn't find someone better at 3,600 to play at first base. Right?
It's so funny because I actually found some guys, and I think earlier, but yeah, that's pretty awesome, man. I hope it.
Let's see what happens. I'm sure BK Ryder only has like 30 lineups in here, so I got to deal with it.
All right, so to sort of like sum up this NBA stuff, so we can get back.
To something happened. Someone hit a home run or something.
Or Arias hit a single. It's scored a couple runs.
Oh, there you go.
But it's gonna bounce around. You know how it is. But okay, so I actually think that this Clippers Utah game is either going to be really close and the Clippers are going to win, or I think it's going to be a massacre and Utah's going to win. I love Milwaukee over Brooklyn. I wouldn't bet on the Utah Clippers game, but I will bet on it staying close and just stocking up on the second game, leaving the first game more alone. It also gives you some room in case they do want to make a starting change. It's not impossible. I mean, Zubac started all year. He just didn't start in the last series because he was playing against a team that doesn't really have traditional bigs and it wasn't working, so they went with their small lineup. Will they keep doing that against Utah? Probably, but there's a chance that Zubac ends up starting, for example. So if I use my Clarkson play early, I better play Clarkson with Zubac is sort of the way I'm thinking, or something like that. You know what I mean? If I'm going to play a center.
From a betting perspective, I think that the Clipper game I go back and forth with. I think Milwaukee runs Brooklyn out of the gym. That's my
love it.
That's my take over there, and
that's my hope.
And we'll see what happens.
That's my hope. They're one of my teams that I have left. I have actually both these teams. I have the Clippers and Milwaukee as preseason bets. Those are my only remaining bets after collecting on my Jokic one. So I hope it happens, and I hope it happens for my narrative because that's sort of the narrative I'm playing under today.
You know what's good? You know your team. You know your team is doing well when your leadoff hitter is batting for the third time in the third inning.
Love to see it.
It's the Mookie. Let's see what happens.
You love to see it. All right, guys. Good luck to everyone. We'll be with you again later at 6 Eastern, so we can talk this through a little bit further. But good luck to everyone, and we'll see you at the top of the leaderboards.
All right.